Welcome back, everyone, to another 180 Shift episode. And we are so blessed to be having a returning guest. He's been on several times with us. Rabbi Barclay is an author, lecturer. He is a great theologian with great knowledge in Judaism. So I'm so happy to be having him today because today is, I hate to use the word anniversary, but it is the day that of October 7th, which we all know what happened. It was the attack on innocent lives. And so I'm so happy that we have his knowledge to be able to help us walk us through it. And it's been a couple years now, so we'll be able to dive into that. Rabbi Barclay, is there anything else you'd like to mention about yourself before you hop in?
No, they can follow on X at the rabbi's table, or uh, we're starting a TikTok and Instagram as Rabbi Barclay. I'm not even sure if it's Rabbi _ Barclay. I don't. You guys know how ignorant I am on this whole social media stuff. So
That's okay. Hey, that's all right. But hey, thank you so much for coming on again. So I just wanted to, I guess, just to start us off, it's been 2 years since October 7th, the tragedy happened. I wanted to know, looking back, it's been 2 years, what has been the effect on the entire world since that day happened? It's a lot.
you want a small question, right? Just
Well,
the big.
yeah, let's
Uh,
well, we can break it down a little bit, but like
no,
just
that's
like,
okay.
yeah.
It's okay. So 2 years ago, I was on your show talking about what needed to be done, and being very clear that what needed to be done is Hamas needs to be destroyed, not defeated, but destroyed.
Mhm.
And that's from a biblical perspective, because Hamas is a modern day Amalek. You may recall the conversation. And Amalek is the only character in the Bible that is never forgiven. And God says he will be at war with Amalek, and we are to be at war with Amalek. For all generations, we are to blot the remembrance of Amalek off the universe. And what is Amalek? Our sages teach is anytime someone attacks the weak, the young, the old, the infirm. What Hamas did on October 7th, as sad as it is to say, and I said it 2 years ago, we need to destroy Hamas, not defeat them, but destroy them. That causes me pain because I know there'll be innocents dying in it. And because at the time Joe Biden was president and putting a lot of pressure on the Israeli government, we didn't do that quickly. When I say we, I mean Israel. And the Arabs have an amazingly powerful victim mentality PR program that has, in October, November of 23, the world saw those images of October 7th, and everyone wanted Hamas destroyed and wanted to celebrate it. And you may recall me saying that at that time, we need to do this, and God forbid we ever celebrate. Well, what's happened over the last 2 years is the world has turned against Israel and turned towards evil. And we need to be clear, Hamas is evil. This is not a battle just between, one group and another group. This is a war of good and evil. And we need to understand that Israel is the front line of this war against Western civilization. And America is the second line. They call it Israel the little Satan, calling America the great Satan. And because we waited and waited to try and appease Biden and then all the protests, everything else, we have lost a PR war. There's so much misinformation going on. And a number of people who actually are conservatives have become very anti-Israel because it's getting them a lot of clicks, and they're making a lot of money on it, both directly through their social media, as well as apparently indirectly through their social media, as well as apparently directly through being paid by people who are from Qatar or other organizations. And so the woke left and the woke right, as James Lindsay likes to refer to them, are the same thing at this point. When Tucker Carlson gets out there and makes the kind of BS comments that he's made uh, after he's paid to go to Qatar and then does a soft interview with the president of Iran. He says, well, why can't we just explore these bad things about Israel? And so the world has really turned against Israel. And the reality is, Israel is the only, not only the only democracy, the only place where Jews, Christians, and Muslims can live together in that part of the world. These useless or useful idiots who are demonstrating for Palestine, they don't realize that there's never been a Palestine. There's no such nation as Palestine. It's never had a flag, a country, stamps, currency. It's never had a government. There is no such thing. It was invented in 1964, financing from the Russians through a PR company called Yetzion Strong Hirsch. That's when the Palestinian cause was created, and its only purpose is to be an enemy to Israel. That's why these people are not accepted into any other of the Arab nations. And all of the anti-Semitism and hate that is so inbred in so many ignorant people has now come out as anti-Israel, anti-Jew. It is not safe to be a Jew anywhere in the world other than Israel. I get death threats. I get hate. My house has been vandalized. In our neighborhood, almost 2 years ago, a man was killed. A guy named Paul Kessler. In Australia, synagogues they need security. They're all these terrorist attacks. On Yom Kippur, a synagogue in Manchester, England, was attacked. And there's an old saying in political science that the Jews are the canary in the coal mine. And what is going on worldwide, people are so ignorant and so foolish that they think it's only an attack on Jews. It's an attack on everyone of religion. If you read the Covenant of 1988, I always encourage people to go online, read the Covenant of 1988, it's the Hamas Charter. Read the Charter of the Palestinian Liberation Organization and the Palestinian Authority. This is not about land. This is about creating a worldwide caliphate of Sharia law. That's what the goal of all of this is. And if we don't wake up, it will be too late. I mean, thank Trump became the president and this is more active, but again, it's a theological issue. It's not something that can be negotiated. And it's really sad that people are so ignorant they don't even want to realize the history that there is no Palestine. They don't want to realize the history that Israel and Jews have been there contiguously for over 3,000 years. We know that from cemeteries. We know that through history. They're the only group that has been there. People don't want to realize that when they're saying free Palestine from the river to the sea, they're cheering for the death of the one Jewish state in the world, and that they are supporting Sharia law. The irony of seeing signs saying queers for Palestine as an example. Those same people, if they went to Gaza, would be beheaded. The real irony is the signs that I've seen that say queer Jews for Palestine. It's like, you'll be beheaded for being queer. They'll sew your head back on. You'll be beheaded again for being Jewish. Look at the Quran, look at the Hadith, read these things and read their charters. And it's very clear. This is about worldwide domination by Sharia law. And for there to be an Islamic world with Sharia law controlling it, which would have all of us, we are all called kafir, which means infidel. We would all be enslaved, killed, or be forced to convert. And the fact that people have gone down this rabbit hole and bought into this big lie about Israel, about genocide, all this, the Greta Thunberg idiocy, is really, really sad. And it's very, very scary for America, let alone Israel and every Jew, but for America and every person of faith who does not want to live based upon Sharia law. So that's, I guess, the macro in a very short period, I guess, and maybe that's a good way of looking at it. And we're in a dangerous time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. You covered on so many different things that that we've been seeing over the past, 2 years. It's insane because you do talk about how in London that there was an attack on a synagogue. And I remember seeing footage of a police officer telling a Jewish man that he looked too Jewish, and that he would be offending the Muslims. So, and it's insane. Um, and I'm also seeing a rise of pro-Palestine supporters that are Hispanic, and that's something that is worrying personally for me, because I mean, you see it at the pro ICE or the stopping the ICE raids, right? I'm seeing also pro-Palestinian flags being flown all over the place, and I'm like, how do these two things mix? But I'm seeing,
It's a great issue. So
yeah.
forgetting about the fact that he is pure evil,
Hmm.
Adolf Hitler was a master manipulator at PR.
Hmm.
Okay. And one of the things he did with the Nazi Party and its rise is he took different disenfranchised groups and said, let's all support each other. And that's exactly what's been going on with this whole Palestinian issue.
Hmm.
Look, support us and we're going to support you. Now, it doesn't matter that the Latin Catholic or the Latin Christian, the Hispanic Christian or Catholic, ultimately, the Islamic law is they get killed too. But we're acting like we're going to support you, so you will now support us. So we're going to support you in anti-ICE, and we expect you to say free Palestine. And it's a move that was really developed and mastered by Adolf Hitler. And ultimately, we saw what happened. One group at a time, he then cut off and killed, put in camps. And not just the Jews, the Gypsies, the Catholics, a number of different groups. And in many ways, what is going on today with Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran, the Houthis, is significantly worse than Nazi Germany. Because the Nazis at least had a Christian background. They felt they hid what they were doing. They weren't proud of it, number one. Number two, yes, they wanted to kill the Jew, but they weren't willing to sacrifice themselves in order to kill the Jew. The Muslim, his attitude is, A, it's worth him dying in order to kill me. And B, he's proud of it. They took that GoPro footage from October 7th and bragged about it. Mom, look, there's the footage of a Hamas guy. Mama, you should be so happy and proud of me. I just killed 2 Jews. And, it's really hard for the psyche to handle your evil. It's hard for us to get to hold that space because it's so creepy and horrible. And so many people have forgotten those images of 2 years ago today. I will never, I've seen too much, or I will never forget those images. And I send out a daily email every day except for festivals and Shabbat, Sabbath, around 3 o'clock in the morning because Israel's 10 hours ahead with what's really going on in the Middle East, not what the mainstream media and American media is saying, but what's really going on. And, on October 8th, the world's consciousness was supportive of Israel. By November 8th of 23, for most of those people, it was in the rearview mirror. By January of 24, secular Jews, it was in their rearview mirror. If they were observant, they were talking about it every day, going to temple. But if they weren't, it was in the rearview mirror. No one wants to think about that. And we can't we should never forget the evil that these people have done and that they are. And remember that they were elected by the people in Gaza by over 90% multiple times. We should never forget that 5 times they've been offered, take the land, just give us peace, not interested. And it is sad, but because there are, I'm sure, some innocents in Gaza, but they've had plenty of opportunity to leave Gaza City, to leave Gaza even, and hundreds of thousands have. It needs to be destroyed. It literally Hamas needs to be destroyed. They took the humanitarian aid, and they did it to build tunnels under hospitals and schools. And we need to recognize, and I think this is something that you ladies really appreciate. Western culture denies the existence of evil. Judaism doesn't. We accept that there is evil. Christianity and Catholicism accept that there's evil, whether they're personified as Satan or not. They accept there is evil. There is good, there is evil. And we need to get really honest about the fact there is evil and it wants us dead. You cannot sit at a negotiating table when the starting position of Hamas is our goal is to kill you. And we'll lie, and in our charter, it says we will lie, we will cheat, we will do whatever in order to kill you and to take the land and to make everyone a Muslim. It's really, really scary and really, really painful on every level. But this is about a war between good and evil. And I think we need to recognize evil exists. And most people who are not observant, they don't believe that.
Yeah. Tara, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, just, talking about history. In 2 Samuel 21, peace didn't come until Saul's sons were sacrificed for his sin against the Gibeonites. It's heavy, but it brought restoration. When you talk about people today wanting domination over the Jews, do you see that as a part of the same spiritual pattern of justice leading to peace?
I think it's, well, which part are you referring to how the Jews need to respond?
Just
Let's
this
go over the story of
this
Saul
issue
first.
of yeah,
Saul.
okay.
So here's what happens. In the Torah, it says God will always be at war from generation to generation with Amalek. Amalek is to be destroyed. We're to blot out the remembrance of Amalek. So there's something called midrash, which are a couple thousand-year-old oral traditions that then were written down. And there's this teaching. So Saul conquers the Amalekites, but he lets their animals live. Samuel shows up. Now that's extra biblical. Okay, that's not in the Bible. That's midrash. It's extra biblical. Samuel shows up and he says, "I hear the bleating of the animals. I hear, and you were told to kill them." And for that, because Saul did not do that, Saul loses the kingship of Israel. That's why Samuel then goes and anoints David. So there's a whole discussion, in a couple of thousand years ago. Why can't the animals are innocent? Why do they have to be killed too? And the reason is because, so let's say I'm walking down the street with a goat. And what do you say? Hey, Rabbi, that's a good-looking goat you got there. Where'd you get that goat? Oh, it was a goat that was one of the, owned by the Amalekites. Oh, who are the Amalekites? And then I tell you, we are keeping their memory alive. Evil must be destroyed in the same way cancer must be destroyed. You cannot even leave one cell. In the exact same way, it must be destroyed. In the same way, there's a wonderful book by Rabbi Elijah Shochet called Amalek, the Enemy Within. And it talks about how there's an internal Amalek as well, the part that preys upon the weakest part of us, manifesting, God forbid, in an addiction. Well, an alcoholic can't have one drink. A heroin addict can't have one shot, snort, whatever they do. You cut it out, you destroy it. That is Amalek within. Amalek without is, in our time, Hamas and the Palestinian Authority as well. And we value life, they worship death. That is the huge difference. So they can take a hostage. We have lost, I think, 6 times, if not more, as many people trying to get the hostages back as the original amount of hostages taken. Because we value every single life. Every single life is the image of God. They value death. You can't negotiate with someone who values death. All the dialogues going on right now, oh, we're going to release the hostages. It's all because we want to get the hostages back. I don't believe Hamas will ever do that. I don't believe they'll ever do it. And God forbid Israel retreats or steps back and gives them more time, because they look at the long game, and it's a stalling game. It's what they've done for 2 years now. And the only thing that makes a difference is when there's military might that forces them to do something.
Yeah, and when you say every cell of evil must be destroyed, can you define what every cell of evil is? Are you talking about like violent networks, harmful ideologies, or like just people
I'm referring
themselves?
to the same way as a cancer cell. Every part of Hamas must be destroyed. Okay, it must be destroyed, and some of it's going to be innocent. And I cried about that for 2 years, and that doesn't change the fact that if God forbid someone has cancer, cut all of it out. Everything having to do with Hamas must be destroyed. The goals of Israel since the beginning of this war 2 years ago: A, get the hostages back; B, dismantle and destroy Hamas; and C, get a government in there that makes sense, that wants to be a neighbor, wants to be an ally, which is not Hamas, that's not the Palestinian Authority. And that's always been the goals. They're hard goals to do. It's a hard job, especially because in that process, there are innocents who die. But it's not Israel's fault. When a Hamasnik holds a child as their shield, it's not Israel's fault to get to the Hamasnik. It's their fault for using it. What kind of evil uses children as shields?
Yeah, it's
That's
like where do mercy and justice meet in that picture?
so. It's a great question. It really is. Remember, I'm a Jew, so we don't have the concept of turn the other cheek. That's not part of our theology. If I've done something wrong, that we just had Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur, where we were doing this, this is the theme of those 10 days. If I've done something wrong to you, God forbid, I need to come to you and I need to A, admit that I did it. B, I need to ask for your forgiveness. And C, whatever I did, I need to fix. So if I accidentally broke your window, then and you come and say, hey, I was playing baseball, I broke your window, I'm sorry, I apologize, let me get it fixed. And it fixed the window. That's my job. You can't fix what Hamas did. It can only be destroyed, and that's the difference between evil and someone making a mistake. You cannot fix when cannot fix a being who is a soldier for Hamas, who takes a young woman's phone that they kidnapped from the Nova Festival, kills her boyfriend, rapes her on the body of the corpse of her boyfriend, videotapes it with her phone, and sends that video to her parents. You cannot fix that. This is evil. And if we don't get it together and realize evil must be destroyed, we are missing everything, because that's underlying all of our theology, yours and mine. Evil exists and it must be destroyed, not negotiated with, because it will always lie, will always cheat, it will always do it again.
Yeah,
That's
okay. Yeah. You've described a really hard stance, and for our listeners who want to build a safer future, just in general, what's one practical step they can take right now that reflects um, both justice and compassion?
so you can't have justice without compassion. That's interesting. 2 years ago, I was saying with you guys, I was saying, we need to destroy Hamas. But I was telling so many people, do not be joyous about it. A year later, those same people were, oh, let's just go sing Kumbaya. We need to be just, and we need to mourn any act of violence that's done. I think on a basic, simple level, I believe in education. I believe education changes people if they really look at it. And I think if people really just took the time, look at the covenant, you can Google it, the covenant of 1988, it's the charter of Hamas. They say they're part of the Muslim Brotherhood. They say that they will never rest until the land is purged of all Jews. They say that the day of judgment will not come until every Jew is killed, and the few who are left hide behind rocks and trees, and the tree cries out, "O Abdullah, O Muslim, there's a Jew behind me, come kill him." These kind of things and more are all right there in the covenant of 1988. Read it. Just, it's easy. There's Avalon Law. There's any number of places. Just read it to understand that Islam and the Quran is less a book of theology. I mean, the Hebrew scriptures are a book about relationship with God. Christian scriptures are about a book about relationship with God. The Hindu scriptures, the Buddhist scriptures, they're all about spirituality. The Quran is not. The Quran is a political document to create world domination, if you really analyze it, what it really is. So to recognize that there is a group of called Islam, called Muslims, and their theology, even though that may not be true for many of them, their theology is to kill us. I think that's the first thing people need to realize. For them to realize and Robert Spencer, anything written by Robert Spencer and Jihad Watch is a great resource for that, by the way. I think to realize that there's no such thing historically as Palestine that was made up in 1964. Written articles on it. But there's a lot of information on it. It's not a question. Douglas Murray's talked about it. I've talked about it. People to realize that what they're getting from the media is loaded. It's not accurate. Over, I think it was 3 million pounds, or whatever it was, of aid Israel gave to Gaza of food. Over 3,000 calories per day for every man, woman, and child in Gaza, Israel has delivered to the poor. The UN lost it, quote unquote. It ended up being in the hands of Hamas, who sells it at a profit. Look at those things. And if people really realize how evil Hamas is, I think that's a big piece. I think it's a big piece to realize that Israel is the home of Jews and Christians and Catholics. To recognize that Israel is the only ally with the United States. That Israel, it doesn't mean Israel doesn't make mistakes or anything else, but that Israel is our front line. God forbid Israel falls, America's next. Netanyahu was on Ben Shapiro's podcast a couple of days. He was yesterday or the day before. And he made the valid point that at this point, Iran has the missiles to come, I think it's 8,000 kilometers, 3,000 kilometers more, and they can send a nuclear weapon to Miami, Boston, or New York. And they would. Because they're willing, they worship death, not life. The other thing is, in both Judaism and Christianity, it's about faith and action and supporting each other. You ladies know how I support churches. I've always supported churches. You know, I stand, still Pastor Rob McCoy, you know, when he's kept his church open, he stood with me when we were the only synagogue in California that stayed open. And to realize that there's a simpatico between Judaism and Christianity. We are the older cousins, so to speak. Jesus was a Jew. He was an observant Jew. Christianity didn't start till after he was dead. And then raised. And I think it's important for every Christian to recognize that we're your ally, and vice versa. Messiah is going to show up. They come in our time. I'm going to say welcome. You're going to say welcome back, and we're all going to accept them. All people of faith. Islam won't. I think that's an important thing to realize. They would reject all that entire theology.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I recommend education. I recommend, again, anything that I write, anything that Robert Spencer writes, anything Douglas Murray does more speaking these days than writing. It's all backed up with facts and not public relations.
Mm.
And here's the other piece, I think, and maybe this is really a good piece to remember for all of us. Someone asked me, who was it? That was Jennifer Horn on Larry Elder's show. How do I recognize things? If hate enters a conversation, God's not present. There is no hate in Jesus. There's no hate in Christianity. There's no hate in Judaism. Maimonides, 1,000 years ago, one of the greatest rabbis of all time, said, if you find hate or anger in the Bible, it's you, it's not God's word. Islam is filled with hate. Christianity is not. Judaism is not. It's antithetical to our understanding of God and our experience of God. Someone's preaching hate. And you know, we're talking about Islam on the one hand, but let's add some other people. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Ian Carroll, Nick Fuentes. They preach hate. They've chosen to go down a path of darkness. I think we need to remember that at all times. I'm clear that it needs to be done to Hamas, but I'm also clear that it pains me.
Yeah.
It doesn't, something's wrong. That's not a healthy theology. So I think that's also something for people to look at. People are preaching hate. These free Palestine marches. Kill the Jew. Destroy Israel. This is hate. The God that I know, the God you know, the God, even the understanding of the infinite that Buddhists understand, that indigenous cultures understand. It's not part of the equation. And if you see someone preaching hate, I would walk away from them or try to change them, or certainly realize I don't want to be supportive. We've just lost, this past month, we lost Charlie Kirk. I didn't agree with Charlie on everything. I think some things I definitely disagree with him. Some things I disagree with how far he took it. A lot of things I agree with him. I'll tell you one thing. Charlie Kirk never preached hate, did he?
No.
Not once.
Nope.
Okay? Didn't do it. He would argue with people. He would debate people. He didn't preach hate. He never said to someone, I disagree with your gender choice, and so I want to kill you. God forbid. He never went to that place, did he? And he never encouraged anyone else to go to that place with the really horrible language of, well, why can't we just explore? You know, Candace Owens' craziness, which people are finally starting to realize. And you guys know about her being an anti-Semite years ago. Why can't we just explore? Maybe the Holocaust didn't happen. Why can't we just explore? It's all myth. Why can't we just explore that Jeffrey Epstein is a Mossad agent? Why can't? It's a great way to avoid getting a lawsuit and put out to people to preach hate. I think we need to preach the exact opposite. Care and respect.
You know what? I had a question come up because you know, you mentioned Candace Owens, right? She's been extremely vocal within the last few weeks since Charlie Kirk has died, and made a whole entire series on all this stuff, right? But I was wondering, um, can you be pro-Israeli, however, criticize certain elements of the Israeli government? Is that possible?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Israel's a democracy, okay? I can be an American, incredibly American, and say, you know what, I got a problem with Joe Biden, I got a problem with Donald Trump. I can be totally pro-Israel and say, I got a problem with Lapid or Gantz or Netanyahu.
Mm-hmm.
But you better really know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And not just come up with this craziness. Netanyahu is going to be remembered, I believe, in greater terms than Churchill. He has done a dance where you want to get the hostages back on the one hand, and on the other hand, you cannot let Hamas stay there. We've seen what they've done. They promised and have vowed they will do it 1,000,000 more times until every Jew is dead. Over and over, they say it. They've shown it. So he's been trying to walk that dance in a really hard way to get hostages back. So, and he has done an amazing, amazing job, in my opinion. I believe he will be remembered in terms of being one of the greatest statesmen in history. You don't feel that now, but he's been doing a dance. Think about it. It's nice for people to say, well, Israel should just cease fire. Israel should just walk away. Israel's killed more people, whatever. Then what would you do if you were Netanyahu? If Israel was a monarchy and you were the king of Israel, what would you do? Moreover, to recognize that the fallacies that have come out of Gaza, the blatant lies, but people want to grab onto their anti-Semitism, so they'll blame Netanyahu for things. The reality is that Israel, if they wanted to commit genocide, God forbid, Gaza would be glass right now. Literally would be glass and craters. Israelis are so good at developing so many things. There are more Gazans today than there were 2 years ago. Okay?
Really?
Yeah, really. Really. Because you take out the people who we know left from Gaza, who we know from their numbers left, there are more people, it's by a few 100,000, that are in Gaza today than there were 2 years ago. So you're telling me that Israel's just great at everything, but they really stink at killing other people. They don't want to. They've never wanted to. They remember in 2004 and 5, they they walked out of Gaza. They took settlements out of Gaza. They left them greenhouses. They left them schools. They left them hospitals that they built. And Hamas and Palestinian Authority first, and Hamas took all that stuff, destroyed it, took the materials, and built tunnels to kill people. You can't negotiate or have peace with people who have that attitude. I wrote an article for American Thinker a year and a half ago, before Trump was elected, about how the only thing that I believe will work is if we separate Gaza and make it, I actually say, a part of the French, make it similar to the French Riviera. Trump's plan of what he wants to do with Gaza makes a lot of sense. It's one of the most beautiful beaches on the planet. But you can't do that with people who worship death more than they worship life. Golda Meir said it beautifully. We will have peace when Arab mothers love their children more than they hate us. That's just not true right now. They hate us more. They want the land, and Christians need to realize this is not just a war on Jews, it's a war on Christians. And to save free Palestine, to make Palestine from the river to the sea, you are asking for the destruction of your own religion. We need to wake up to that.
Yeah, totally. I think that that's such a key point that a lot of people need to recognize, especially Christians, because Islam is here and wants to take over. I mean, we've seen it throughout everything, and yeah, I'm so glad that you said that.
I don't know if you're aware of this, the Pew Research did a study that in Canada, based upon the birth rate of Muslims versus the rest of Canadians, by 2060, there will be a Muslim majority,
Yeah.
and they will make it into Sharia.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you're seeing cities that are being turned into Sharia law like rain. So that is true. You are seeing that. And you did touch on Trump a little bit, but I wanted to know, like he announced that there's like a peace treaty that they're working out. I want to know what your thoughts are on that. And I guess his role in this whole entire thing and what's he's doing. Yeah.
I love what Trump is attempting to do.
Mhm.
I think there's a challenge that both Trump and Steve Witkoff do not really understand the theology of Islam. Jared
Mm.
Kushner does. Um, for Trump, it's negotiations.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the challenges. I think that we need to understand that until there's action, it's not that long ago that they sent the bodies of the Beavis family and they were desecrated and destroyed. At first, they sent fake bodies, but we seem to forget those kind of things and paraded around these corpses. They've given, if I believed in demonology, if I believed in that kind of theology, I would say that they've been literally have given up their human souls to be able to do what they've done. Trump needs to remember that and what he's dealing with. I personally don't think there's going to be any sort of treaty, no matter how hard Qatar pushes for it. If there is, I'm terrified because it will be dangerous for Israel. You know, the quote unquote red lines were that all the hostages need to be released, and then Israel will pull back and give some of their prisoners who've been convicted of mass murder and terrorism, release them. But Hamas is saying, oh, no, no, no. Israel needs to go away before we give any hostages back. We'll give some back. I don't think they'll ever give them all back. And something else that's probably worth even just mentioning. Western media talks of that. It's constantly saying that Israel has responded inappropriately, that they've responded. Yes, 1,200 people were kidnapped and killed, but they responded, uh, you know, in a larger way because they've killed however many tens of thousands of Hamas. So proportionally, they've said that it's not proportional. One death is one death too many. But if you really want to talk proportion, percentage-wise, of Israeli citizens compared to how many were killed, kidnapped on October 7th, if we did the same percentage from those Arab nations around Israel, proportional would mean killing over 4 million Arabs, God forbid. Still talking about proportionality. 1,200 people out of a country of, 9 million is a lot. And I think we need to remember that. Israel has been the victim in all and has really tried to do this in a good way. I don't believe this peace deal is going to happen. I don't believe it's going to last. I don't believe it's going to be kept. And I believe that even if it starts, the Arabs are going to say Israel broken. If they gave us all the hostages today, great. But I am deeply concerned. I'll tell both of you, I'm very deeply concerned. Trump said it needed to be done by Sunday. Today is Tuesday. He said, quote unquote, if this isn't done by Sunday, all hell will break loose. Today's Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
I think something else people need to remember is both Netanyahu and Trump want to kind of put Gaza to the side for a while because what really needs to be dealt with, which is a much bigger threat, is Iran, which last week made a $25 billion purchase of Russian missiles. Iran's the real danger. I mean, Hamas is as well, and Hezbollah and the Houthis, but they're all proxies for Iran. And I think that part of this is they want to move Gaza to kind of over here to the side while they deal with Iran. Another hint towards that is the reality that the USS Gerald Ford, our aircraft carriers, is now in the Mediterranean. That just happened in the last few days. We gave a number of THAAD missiles and defense systems to Israel. So it seems like I think that part of this is also they want to kind of push it to the side, deal with Iran, and destroy the head of the Hydra. So I think that's going on as well, and most people don't even realize that.
Yeah. The fact that it was that those things are being moved, I don't think people even, like you said, realize that or even paying attention. And even if they paid attention, they probably just go, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, we have 3 aircraft carriers and God knows how many submarines that are in that area.
Yeah.
That's preparing for war, and it's not for Gaza, it's not for the Houthis, and it's not for Hezbollah. Right? It's a bigger picture. So I think that's part in this whole mix as well. Look, if you want to have a simple answer, take all the people from Gaza. I don't see any of them being welcomed into Egypt. Do you? Into Jordan, into Lebanon, Syria, Qatar. Well, if they're your brother, welcome them in. If you're saying they're refugees, welcome them in. If you're saying that they're your brother, your cousin, welcome them in. How come no one's letting that do it? How come Egypt built a huge wall to keep people from Gaza from going into Egypt? But if Israel prevents them, Israel's bad guy. I think we kind of need to look at those things and really be honest about what's going on there and what it's about. And it's not about land. It's not about Palestine or Palestinian. This is about the goal, the Islamic goal of creating a worldwide caliphate with Sharia law. And that's not just for Israel. That's for the world.
Yeah.
We need to get honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't want to keep you too long because I know you got to go somewhere.
We have services. This is our holiday of Sukkot, which is a biblical holiday. We're having things all weekend. If you guys want to, all weekend in our sukkah, if you guys have the time, you want to come by, and we have armed security at everything we do. kind of sad, but it's true. I mean, we have armed security. We had a whole security force during the high holidays. We have a whole
Mhm.
security force during Sukkot. If you guys want to come, bring your families. We have programming every night. The idea is you're supposed to dwell in a temporary structure. It's a reminder of the 40 years of wandering. It's a reminder that the physical world is temporary. The spiritual world is really what's important.
Mm.
So it kind of looks like Gilligan's Island's hut. This big booth, this big structure with made by 2x4s with palm fronds, and it's beautiful. And we had dinner last night for 80 people or something. We'll have events every night. Tonight we're doing a memorial service in the sukkah for uh, what happened. It's
Yeah.
also and only very few people know this, but you guys will I think will like this, and most academics agree on this. In ancient times, when Jesus was alive, there were 3 festivals that you needed to return back to Jerusalem for: Passover, Shavuot, which is when when the Ten Commandments were giving, and Sukkot. We cut down palm fronds. And even though it makes more sense, oh, Jesus is rising as winter turns to spring, he probably came back for Sukkot because they had cut the palm fronds and they were placing them at his feet. So this holiday has really deep Christian significance, and most academics agree on this, that
Mm.
um, you don't cut palm fronds in Israel in April. You cut them in fall, and they
Yeah.
cut them for this holiday. And he would have
Oh,
had to go back in the exact same way.
wow.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
fun, fun
Yeah.
cocktail party talk.
There you go.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rabbi Barclay, for just, yeah, joining us today and sharing your insight with us. We really appreciate it.
Well, no, I love you ladies. You know that I love your families, and talk to them if you guys want to come any night this week. Um, I'll get you the address and stuff, and just thank you for the work you're doing. Keep doing the work. Please, please help people that are your age to wake up. And maybe it's the simplest thing. Someone preaches hate. God's not there.
Mm. Yeah.
And doesn't mean look. I believe Hamas needs to be destroyed, but I'm not happy. I certainly do not hate Hamas.
Mm.
I'm profoundly sad that any human being can lose their soul so deeply as these people have. And I think that's important. You preach hate, you're not preaching God.
Yeah.
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 Thank you so much for just talking to us, and we wish you all the best with everything that you're doing. And I hope that tonight, even though it's going to be in remembrance of what happened, that goes well. Yeah, and I just pray for your safety and everyone's safety. Today's getting even crazier every day.
And thank you to you guys as well. May you always be blessed with safety and all things that are good. Save may God bless and protect you. May God lift up his countenance, be kind and gracious with you. May God always grant you good health, and prosperity, and love. And peace. We say, can you hear that song? May this always be God's will.
Thank you so much. And
Amen.
thank you everyone who is also watching us. I hope you've enjoyed all of this.